Uh,
Hello, welcome back to I Got Board Game. I Got Board Game. I am Ben.
I'm John. I mean Daniel. I mean Dan.
Back here with not John. With not
Not
John.
John. I'm not
But
John.
with Daniel. And today we are doing another first impressions video. And so, like we explained in our other first impression video, which should be up before this one, this style of video is basically so that we can let you guys know about our thoughts on a game we tried probably only once. Basically, we just haven't had time to play it multiple times, but we did have thoughts on the game that we wanted to share and get down before we forget. And so this is that chance to share these first impressions before we actually do a full-on review later in the future after playing a game more times. Ideally, I would say I would want to play a game a handful of times to be fair in my review and rating of it. But in this case, this game, both of us only played once, but we did have thoughts. And so that game is...
Reset! Wait, Red Rising. Wrong one.
Red Rising.
Red Rising.
Other way.
Other way.
Hopefully it records the right direction. Red Rising by Stonemaier Games. As you can see, this is the collector's edition that I had gotten from the pre-order. So fancy gilding and such. And so this game was released by Stonemaier this year, or we received it this year, not too long ago. And it's based off of the book Red Rising by author Pierce Brown, set in its kind of own dystopian future where there is a color class system. And so everyone belongs to a certain class or a caste, if you will, that's based on colors from red, orange, yellow to white, obsidian, golds are the elite. And so there's a bunch of colors, maybe like, I want to say 13, 14 color different castes. But this game, basically, we won't get into how the whole flow goes. That'll be when we do an actual full-on review in the future. But just a really rough idea is you're taking turns. All the cards you get are people in this world belonging to the different castes, like the greens, and the CEO is a silver, and you have the bronze and yellow and violet. And so all these characters are the cards that you're going to be using. You're going to play them onto the board, which has a few locations, which are kind of like the locations in space, like Luna being the moon and Mars. And so the whole mechanic, the whole idea is you're basically playing characters to get the ability on the card, and then you're picking up a character from a different location to get the ability, the bonus from that location. And that could be, getting helium from Mars, or taking the sovereign token, which is kind of like a leader token that gives you bonuses. You would get that if you pick up a character from Luna, I believe. And then there's basically a few different ways of scoring based on what you can get at those locations. Like helium or helium-3 is worth 3 points each. Each one of those you have at the end of the game. These red helium crystals. You have a fleet track, which is just kind of to indicate your fleet size, and however far you go on that track is worth a certain number of points at the end. You can put your influence on the Institute, kind of like scholarly work, and the more you have there, it's kind of like a majority wins the highest points there. And then, but the main way you score is based on the cards you have in your hand at the end of the game, because each character card, each card you have, has requirements on how it scores points. It has a base amount of points. For example, the CEO has 12 points just for having them in your hand at the end. But then at the bottom of each card is also a requirement. Let me see, my camera won't focus, but it says 18 points if you have at least 5 helium. Yeah, that should I think that's what it says. And so yeah, it's another way to get bonus points for fulfilling that requirement while having that character in your hand. A lot of the cards are actually they combo with other characters. So, you know, it might be like a gold. If you have this character, you lose points if you have a red in your hand because they don't want to be seen with the lowest cast people. And it could, and some of the cards are even specific characters from the story, I believe, from the book series. And so some of those characters will want to be together in your hand or not. And that's how they'll also award you bonus points. And so, yeah, you just add up your points at the end of the game of the points on your cards, the bonus points on them, your helium, fleet track, institute influence, and whoever has the highest score wins. So that's basically how it goes and the main mechanics in the game. So getting into our thoughts on how it all played after our first play, what do you think, Daniel?
Oh, I will, I guess, what's the word? What's the term? Anyways, whatever. I'll just comment really briefly on just obviously production and everything looks really, really pretty. I think when Ben introduced me to this game, I guess obviously the first thing I was like, oh, it's Stonemaier games. I was so the first game I played of them is Wingspan, and I really enjoyed it. It was really pretty, and then this game is no different, very pretty. I think, yeah, again with the collector's edition, everything is really nice, and I think those are all metal little, what are those?
Yeah,
Tokens?
the player tokens are all like metal cubes.
So it's just really nice and feels really.
But like, yeah,
looks,
like heavy, like your metal ship token and your cubes for your influence. It's all metal.
Yeah, so it looks really, really good. That's very easy, not very substantial bit of feedback, but
metal sovereign token.
Yeah, so it's really nice as opposed to, I know a lot of pieces are like plastic and it's just you're like, oh, here's a sovereign token. But this one, if you drop it on your head, you might die. Okay, maybe not die. But yeah, so I just want to say it's really nice. I do enjoy that kind of dual purpose. It's not really dual purpose mechanic, but where you're playing down a card and then using its ability and then choosing I think it's a place, right? And then drawing a card and using that place's ability. So I like that because then you have to balance what you hold in your hand, and because you want the cards in your hand to score points, but you also need to use the locations ability to kind of increase the fleet, the different trackers, sovereign token, helium, fleet institute, so on and so forth. So I like how there's that kind of, it's not really using dual purpose of cards, but that kind of using the places ability and using cards ability. So I mean that's nice. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I'll say on the production, I do like the metal tokens. It's just a nice touch to it. Actually, what I was showing too, the insert is part of the collector's edition. So the metal tokens and this whole custom insert to fit everything is with the collector's edition. So the regular retail version is just basically two wells, like, you know, like a cardboard insert and two wells to fit everything in bags and stuff. And so it's not as nice. This is really nice. I really do like the like custom shape for the helium container, which is like, I think this is probably a logo from the book series itself. And then the cards, the part I don't remember is like, so I really like the color, how colorful the cards are.
Gold trim
have like the, I don't know, it's not gonna zoom, but it has like, yeah, you can see like the gold gilding, the foiling on like the word gold and along the sides here. So just the golds, the elites have that effect on the cards. That might be in the retail version. I'm not too sure. It might not either though, actually, now that I think about it. But so that was a nice little touch. But I will say something that I heard and we kind of experienced too when playing was with all the player colors, some of them seem pretty similar depending on like your lighting, and even like normal lighting, it might seem similar. Like,
especially with the cubes.
Yeah, like
there was a little
one,
bit of
this is like, I think this is the purple character and this is like the bronze or
Or
brown
bronze.
character.
Mhm.
So it's like can seem very similar.
It's like scoring points would be issue, but I guess
Yeah,
that's
and that's actually what I heard in another review of like maybe the
mhm,
retail version is actually when it's not these shiny metal ones, the coloring is much more obvious.
mhm,
So I think that yeah, that gives a reason to maybe just go with the basic
mhm.
retail version of this and not necessarily need the collector's edition,
Yeah.
which is a little sad because usually when you do the collector or the fancy version, the deluxe version, it's like that's the one you want people to feel like they have to get. Where this one it might be kind of a pass, unless you really
Mhm.
want to just collect the nice version. Playability wise, there are those kind of issues. Because the other issue that came up when we were playing is all of these are the card stands that the game comes,
Oh, that is terrible. Okay, sorry. I don't want to say
which
terrible. That
which
makes it sound terribly bad.
which some people like. Some I mean in general, like for other board games, like as an accessory, people might like it. But Daniel kept having issues
Just
um,
me
of like, yeah, putting the cards and they sit
leading.
fine, but then they get knocked over pretty easily. So maybe like it's because the base isn't thick enough
Or heavy
to,
enough. Yeah.
yeah, or heavy enough to stay up that it can be annoying
Mhm.
more than just a nice accessory. So again, that's
Yeah.
like maybe pass on the
Mhm.
collector's edition, which comes with those
Mhm.
specifically.
Yeah, I just ended up holding that hand because I just unintentionally showed the other people we're playing with, including Ben. Here, look at all I'm collecting. Please screw me over. But then I think everyone was nice enough to look away, and I was like, I think I ended up winning, and that may or may not affect the score I end up giving the game if we end up scoring. But anyways,
So
yeah,
that's all related to production, the look,
yeah.
the feel of the components. Like, it is good quality, but there are just those playability issues with the stand, the color of the player pieces in the collector's edition.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so going on more to the gameplay stuff you were saying or had thoughts on.
Yeah, no, yeah, as I said earlier, just the whole like playing a card, and I think it was kind of fun to balance what cards you hold in your hand and which cards you play out because you need to play a card out to then subsequently use or not necessarily use that place's that location's ability, but like to engage that sort of mechanic. So I think that was kind of fun and trying to balance which ones to keep, which ones to play, and then which cards to then get back. Well, I guess which characters get back from various locations. So that was kind of fun to balance everything. So I
Yeah.
enjoyed that bit.
Yeah, I like that idea too. Like in theory, when I heard it originally before the game came out, and then actually trying it, it was cool to kind of experience this kind of. It's like a cycle, right? Where
Mhm.
it's like exactly what you're saying. You want to play a character for their ability, but then you have to
Mhm.
be aware, like, is someone else gonna want to pick up this character later? And then if I'm playing this character, which place do I put it on? Because I don't want to cover up the character I actually want to pick up to my hand to maybe combo for more points with other cards I already have. And so it's kind of this cool cycle idea, which is different from a lot of board games I've played where, the more traditional mechanic that comes to mind is like worker placement or something,
Mhm.
where you just send someone there and you do what's there and that's it. It's like
Mhm.
kind of like action selection, right?
Mhm.
Like just play the card, do what's on the card. But then in this way, there is this cycle. So you kind of want to be aware of uh, ideally doing a card's ability, playing a character that you want the ability, and picking up a
Mhm.
card that you also want. And so that's a nice cycle. But I will say the detriment to this cycle kind of mechanic is that there are, I think, supposed to be 120 unique characters in this game.
Mhm.
So like cards, and each one's a unique character. But since you're cycling, you're not going through that much of the deck each game.
Mhm.
Maybe with more players, obviously you're dealing out more cards at the beginning, so everyone's starting with more cards are starting out there,
Mhm.
so more are seen during the game overall.
Mhm.
But there isn't like a strong mechanic of getting new cards from the central draw deck.
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
is an option to do that on your turn
Mhm.
instead of playing cards, but it's still maybe not one people. At least we didn't do it much when we were.
No. No.
Maybe
No.
it is
Yeah.
something that people do more
Mhm.
to get more cards out there, but Yeah, so the variety of what you're seeing, it'll change each game because there's so many cards. But during the game itself, you're not gonna see a lot of other cards from
Yeah,
the deck, it feels like.
yeah. Yeah, and that was something I didn't like too much because I wanted to get a card, but because of turn order, I think it was a card that Ben played, and I was like, oh, I want that, and then like you and I think Kelly were just like swapping cards together, and I was like, you jerks, not letting me grab the card.
I mean, and
But
especially if it's like, card gets you bonus points if it's with another specific
yeah,
character.
exactly.
You just don't know if that's going to come up during this game.
Mhm.
You could try to draw
Yeah.
forever from the deck, but you may never get.
Yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, I think exactly to your point. It was you don't really get to experience the full kind of not the full deck. I guess that's not really the purpose of the game, but like more like a substantial part. Because yeah, I think we rarely did we ever just grab a card from the deck, and yeah, because we were like, well, I guess maybe that's to our inexperience in playing the game, but we didn't at least feel it was worthwhile in
because
doing
it felt
so.
like we were just trying to make the cards we had work.
Good. Yeah, exactly. There was enough to do.
I know these are the requirements on these cards in my hand that gets me bonus points. So I'm just gonna try to do as many of them as I can versus fishing for cards that, maybe would already work with our hand, but it's all chance though,
Right. Exactly. So yeah, that was a bit but yeah, I guess didn't want to bash this game too much from the get-go, but I guess another thing, like I think that was just a nice thematic kind of what's what I'm trying to say? Good thematic feature, I guess, is just incorporating the story. I guess it's a small touch with regards to like which characters combo with which other ones. I have not read the book at all, so I can't comment too much on how thorough of a job they did of incorporating the story, at least with regards to relationships between characters into the actual gameplay. But at least they do make an effort, like Ben said earlier, with regards to like gold cards don't will not like to be associated with, I think you said, the red tier, the red class, which is the lowest one. So the score reflects that. But I don't, I guess, with that pro said, I think at least from the gameplay wise, with connecting the story and the games, I think typically the game is trying to emulate something, some sort of mechanic or some sort of story, action or whatever plot that happens in the story. Or yeah, the game emulates the story, but I don't think I'm getting a good sense of what's happening in the story other than we just want points. We want helium, we want a big fleet, and we want that sovereign token and institute knowledge, which is, if that were the story, I don't want to bash on the story, but that would be a pretty lame story. Just be like, oh yeah, the Reds went out and collected helium today, and that was the end of the day. And the Golds were just holding on to that sovereign token, and that was the end of the day.
That's not what the story is in the
And so, I mean, like, granted, the game can't like emulate completely, but like do a reasonably, like, I expected at least a good enough job. Like, it's a dystopian future, I presume. It looks like that kind of theme. It's a not very dystopian game. We're not fighting each other. I guess indirectly we are. We're fighting for resources, but like, the game that comes to mind is comparing to Coup, which is maybe not a fair comparison, but there you're actively fighting each other, and it's more dystopian like. But this is just more.
Which game did you say?
Coup.
Oh yeah.
Or you're actively like fighting each other. But here you're just, it's not Euro style, but like it's more that than a competitive. So, and I expected a little bit more of that because the theme is not utopian.
Yeah, I mean this is very Euro like. This is actually very Euro like because it's indirect confrontation. It's not a take that game. Really, right? You're not forcing other people to do stuff. Really, you're just maybe doing something that
passive aggressively.
Yeah, their plan. The card they want, and then it's all about the victory points. Very, very Euro like. Not traditional Euro like with the themes of like farming or stuff like that.
No.
But pretty Euro with the tracks. that you
Mm,
keep tracking to get points the higher up you go. And yeah, so all that kind of stuff makes it a Euro game, which then lends itself to maybe not feeling that thematic,
yeah,
which I
yeah,
agree
yeah,
with. I don't think it's a thematic game. It could have been almost any theme. Like
exactly.
you have these tracks and random resources that you can get for points and
Yeah.
leadership tokens. Something I did like actually was with the sovereign token, which is not the first player token. There actually is a first player token just to mark turn order, which is like a little nice small thing that games like Splendor don't have. Which is just a helpful thing to have, a little marker like that to keep track of the equal number of turns in this case. But the sovereign token is kind of like a bonus token where if you have it at the end, you get a certain number of points. Like if you're the one person holding it at the end of the game. But the thing is, it's going to pass around during the game, depending on whoever takes the Luna action, the moon action. And so, but what's cool about it is at the start of the game, everyone starts with a house, which is kind of like their clan. And I think that's probably from the world too that I never got to in the books yet. I'm really early on in the book, but that was a cool idea where the power, like the character power you get with your clan, is not just like an ongoing thing or a one-time action that you do during the game, but it always ties to when you get the sovereign token, then you get to activate your power, which could be related to drawing or related to getting helium. Something still simple, but it's cool that it's related to getting the sovereign token because it incentivizes you not just to get the sovereign token and hope no one takes it so I get my 10 points or whatever at the end of the game. But it's like I want to keep getting it so I activate my power, which is different from the other players, but some other way to get a little leg up or bonus.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. I think a critique I had of the game is with regards to the other resources. I know the sovereign token is good. I think, and you pointed out very well why. But I think with like the other resources, helium, fleet, and the institute currency or whatever, the knowledge, I guess, track, like it's just another kind of currency or point system that you can gain a point of. There's not like, oh, because you've invested so much of your time and resources to gain to advance the institute track, you get additional abilities. Unlike, say, your sovereign, where you said if you keep it, you get you activate various other powers. The other ones are just I'm just accumulating points, which is maybe I would have liked it to be fleshed out a little bit more because you are so now knowledgeable by forwarding that track. You can now do additional abilities because of that. They're special for that specific track. And then for the helium, okay, because you've gained so much helium, you can fly everywhere, whatever. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. I don't think that's what it's used for in their world. Well, no, actually, that would have been a cool touch if it's like instead of if I do the action of like the institute, right?
Yeah.
If instead of putting influence on it, maybe I can choose to remove an influence.
Use that exactly.
That would have been actually pretty cool.
Yeah, or like if you hit a certain threshold, you now achieve a certain level of knowledge. I just went to my friend's graduation where he got his PhD, and I'm like, now you've reached that level. You've now gained the ability to, I don't know, take 2 cars instead of 1.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems a little bit too overpowered, but like that kind of level where you've reached a certain level of knowledge, so you can do something. You've reached a good amass of helium. You can now power your ships better. You could maybe, now move the fleet tracker more because you have the helium stuff. I think this game does a good job in setting the foundation of the world, but I would have liked to see them flesh out a lot more like how each one of those, I guess, currencies or tracks work, and maybe it overcomplicates the game, maybe which is why the developer stopped there. I don't know, but I think simplicity, I guess, is good. So maybe that's a good thing, though. Like it's easy to learn, but
I think the fact that it is all just points, it makes it simpler. But for me, in that first play, the fact that I did not. Well, we all did it pretty well. Right? Our difference wasn't that big.
No.
Maybe like 10 to 20 points difference.
Yeah,
it's not a lot. It's like that's like one card or two, one or two cards. But I think the thing that I didn't do well though was I didn't pay attention to how all my cards comboed, right? So
Mhm.
I suffered some minus points because I didn't pay attention to certain cards in my hand. And like that was kind of the weird feeling I got from the game, where it's like all the other resources you mentioned that are straightforward points
Mhm.
made the game simple, but then having to read each card that I have and plan for each one,
Mhm.
that made it more complex, you know? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird that there's that very simple side and then this
Mhm.
also pretty complex side.
Mhm.
And I kind of describe them that way because I'm not sure how it feels to someone who's like newer to board games then, you know, like,
True.
is the game actually like welcoming or simple enough to get
True.
people to play, or is it supposed to be more complex? And if it was supposed to be more complex, I think the ideas you just mentioned
Mhm.
of, you know, adding a bonus to those different tracks or resources, that would have been great. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
push
I
the
think
game.
that would probably level up the resource gathering side up to the same level as the
Yeah,
combo and card
exactly.
level.
And then overall, then the board game, I could more clearly say like, okay, it's a little heavier game, definitely not like medium or anything like that, but a little
Mhm.
heavier versus feeling like, is it light or is it like light to medium? You know, like
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
does it actually sit when there's these two parts that feel different in level?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's not. Yeah, there's that disparity. I will say, and then maybe not. I don't hope this coming to be coming across as flexing, but no, like my philosophy of playing games is, and Ben knows this, is when I start getting stumped, I go like, don't use rain and just fly things. And so, like, not to say I scored well at the end, but I did win. But my point is, it's like it is complex, that whole comboing thing. But like maybe it's because, yeah, I don't think I had as many cards in my hand as you. I think you had two more than me, but or you had like
Hmm,
seven.
hmm,
But
hmm.
anyways, point is like, so maybe it was easier for me to make sure all of the things because, yeah, a lot of my points came from comboing cards together and
Hmm,
their
hmm.
summed points. And so it wasn't too hard for me, but then again, also I had fewer cards to account for and try to combo. So yeah, maybe if we played it again, it will be harder for me. I know you went for like, I think all the gold, or you went for a lot of golds.
That, yeah,
And so,
I thought that's what you were doing because that's what you kept joking about in the beginning.
that's I
That you
did, I
just
did.
keep wanting the gold guys who are
And
showing up.
then you're like, hey,
And then I
Dana wants the
didn't even
gold. I'll
know.
steal it. I ditched the gold so fast. No, yeah, I don't know. I half wanted to go for the golds, but I didn't draw enough golds, and I was like, well, or I didn't see enough golds to be taken into my hand, so I was like, oh well, let's not do that anymore. And then Ben was like, I see golds. I will take all the golds. But I don't know, whatever. But I think, yeah, yeah, maybe there is a complexity to the whole comboing characters. But I didn't feel it. But maybe, yeah, again, it's just because it's the first time we played it, or I played it, so I didn't experience too much of that. But yeah, I mean, that bit was nice, that complexity, but and I would have liked to see a little more of that comboing. Yeah, just on the resource side. I think, yeah, it's there. The only kind of thought that you do have to put into the resources is, I think, for at least Helium and the Institute track, I think the player with the most of that, or most advancement of that certain track, will get the most, I guess, points per unit, I guess, token, compared to the others. So you do have to plan that, but not too much, because it's pretty obvious if you're winning on that track, well, then keep winning. If you're not, then don't waste time in trying to catch up, start another one. We did play with 3 players, so maybe that was limited. Like, I mean, there's, I think, three. Oh, I guess there's also 4. There's 4, 3 tracks and the sovereign token, I believe. And so maybe it was easier for us, in where it's like, oh, if like we each would just pick one, and if someone else is having it, is advancing their token in a certain track, then jump over to the other one. So maybe it was easier for us. It's a how many players max?
It can play up to
5,
6, which is a
6.
good
Okay,
number. Obviously, that would make it harder to plan of like which cards
yeah,
you have available to take back into your hand
yeah.
turn for your comboing. But I would say something that did pair well with what you're saying with those different tracks and
Mhm.
staying on them is that since the game is not like a set number of rounds, it's
Mhm.
when a certain number of the different tracks are reached, basically 7 in whatever
Mhm.
track. Like whoever has, or basically if one player reaches 7 on all 3 tracks, then the game ends or reaches the ending round. Or if like in total all the players completed all 3,
Mhm.
something like
Mhm.
that. Oh no, sorry, it's if one player completes 2 of them, right?
Yeah,
2 of the 3
or
tracks,
all of them
or
do
everyone
one.
together completes 3,
Yeah, or yeah,
all
yeah,
3 different ones.
yeah, all three different
So I
ones.
think
Yeah.
that works well for the game because of what you're saying. Like, I don't think you necessarily have to stay to the track you're leading on,
No, no, no,
because
no,
what
no.
you can do is like, once someone reaches like say 7, they think like, okay, I'm done on this track because I fulfilled it. That's going to push the end game and I'm
Mhm.
on first place on it. But then other players can still push on it and be like, okay, I'm going to become 8 on it and 9 on it. And it's like, sure, you can maybe end the game now by fulfilling another track, but do you want to leave me being first place in that track? So I think that works well together. I think in
Yeah,
theory,
yeah,
we didn't do that. I think we did stick to our own tracks kind of
yeah,
a
yeah.
little
And then
more.
toward the end, I just went like helium for the win.
Yeah, and I went like full fleet track, like all
Oh,
the way.
you went all, yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so, but I mean, in theory, there could be that kind of player controlled ending where it's like, oh, I don't want to end it yet because I want to get back into first place
That's true.
on that
That's true.
track,
That's true. Yeah,
which I
yeah,
think
yeah,
is better than having like if the game was like a set 10 rounds and see how far
yeah.
everyone gets or something like that. So
Mhm.
that was a good idea with it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think one more thing I noted down was that, were the colors that this okay, or I personally felt like the different colors of the different classes were just there because the story had those, but then I know thematic. Okay, I think a lot of my critiques are just thematic based. I know some of. I think the white was like it's like the spiritual side one. I think,
The arbiter,
or not
arbitrator,
spirit.
arbitrator.
That's not spiritual. That's like more. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But there, I mean, seer. That's kind of spiritual-ish, kind of whatever. But I guess what I wanted to say was it didn't seem like the abilities of those cards align too much with their class. I don't know if you would agree with that, but it was just yet another ability that they just put on the put on the card. It just seemed
Um,
like, or I mean, I know like gold was very gold-like, and arbiter was very arbiter-like, where you're trying to intervene if something bad happens to you. But like I think I had the black card and the obsidian class, and then the gray were just like moving cards. I know some classes did better than the others with regards to theme. I know I think the silver, which is all finance related, does seem to be like gain resources. The gold seems to be like, I don't know, combo points and like be a very I don't know. Gold just give me a very aloof ability. So like I think some of the classes were a little. I felt it could have been maybe done a little better. Yeah, gray was just like move cards here from here to there. Obsidian was also like gain card. Like some classes are done well. Some were just like I couldn't find another ability, so we just started putting abilities or cards.
mm,
But I don't know. I feel like some like if I were to do this game, I would not do a good job. So I'll make that disclaimer right up front. But I feel like if you're able to lower the amount of classes, because I don't think they all need to be there with regards to abilities, like because obviously for the story, yes, include all of them. But like if the story wasn't necessary, if this isn't about Red Rising, the story, I wouldn't have that many ability like classes because I feel like it's just diluting the game. I don't think they're adding to the over utility when playing the game. I don't know if you feel similarly. I was like, oh, it's just another color.
I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying, and like I can believe there's a reason why some of those do what they do, like specific
Mhm.
characters and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And like I think one of the like either the black or the gray are like security. So then
Oh,
that's
so they are just more
yeah, they're like moving
administrative.
people or moving and then putting the card on top of them. So it's kind of like
Mhm.
blocking that card or defending it. So
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
is some idea with
Okay.
them. Yeah, they're not obviously they're not all the same doing that. And so I don't
Mhm.
know if that would have been better to do, like have repeat abilities in the
Mhm.
same class, or have them all be different, because a lot of them feel different, not all of them, but a lot of them.
No, no, a lot of them do. So yeah,
So
it's
it's like,
not.
would it have
Yeah.
helped the game more if more of the grays did pretty much the same thing?
They
Would that
did in some. Well, I know like some of the girls just like move a character of a certain color or something like that. But then, so one of the gray was like, put it here and then move another one of I think let's say orange or there's no orange, red or
There's
green.
orange, there's orange.
Oh, there's orange.
There's
So
every color you can imagine.
so one of them was like, put it there and then move an orange guy, and then another gray was like, put it somewhere else and then put it in a certain location and move a red. I think so. There's that variability, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just me not having direct. I haven't read the book, so maybe I don't. Maybe I'm expecting too much from like gray security person. I don't know, but it's just not as in line with the class system that they're with compared to say like silver, which is all finance, which is resource gaining. So that makes sense. But then I also don't know how, and this is just me starting to talk aloud. But I guess I wouldn't know how security would be manifested as a mechanic or like a not mechanic per se, but like an ability. Like I don't know how I would do it better. All I can say is moving cars around doesn't seem like a very security like job. But I don't know. That's just a minor critique that I had, but at least on the thematic end. But
I get that. Because but I think that comes back to the idea of maybe the locations themselves don't mean much, this place different from this one. And in a game where it's not combat, how do you have security and defense?
Yeah.
Or like how does an elitist feel
Right.
like in a game? Like
Right.
Like how do you capture that in a game which is about these main mechanics? So I think there is that disconnect still with that theme.
Yeah. I also would have liked it's just all this bashing of the game. I feel like they could have done more with, and maybe this is going back to the whole like me wanting each track to have an associated ability after accumulating some amount of points or tokens, whatever, from that track. Is the different locations don't seem to differentiate too much aside from Luna. Luna gains sovereign token, makes sense, but Helium, the fleet track, and the Institute are all just another track. You call it a different like token or a different like orthogonal kind of point system, but I could call it, I don't know, I could call it hydrogen now and not helium. Okay, that's too close to helium. But I guess my point is like, it's just another track. It doesn't seem too novel other than just counting points for the sake of counting points. So I didn't like that too much because I felt like, again, maybe going back to theme, like if they're trying to harvest some sort of resource, like it's just knowledge, like knowledge points and versus helium points. Okay, so what? Like this doesn't really build up your theme too much. But no, I think it's just I'm just bashing on the theme and them not fleshing it out enough. But that's I guess my main overall. I think the base mechanic is fine. I think they do it well enough. But I think it just could have been a little bit more if they had done a better job. Oh, not say they did a bad job, but if they had added a little more kind of complexity to like, locations and abilities that you gain from investing your resource and time in those locations. And then, but I think I do like the comboing of characters. So I think they do a good job on that front. Enough bashing on my end.
That was kind of the point you mentioned earlier, and so aside from that, I don't have any other thoughts. I thought it was okay overall. Production is not necessarily that preferred with the collector's edition. It is deluxe, but not necessarily better in all ways. The main mechanic of that cycling of trading cards in and out is interesting, but you don't get to see a lot of the cards then. And the theme is not that strong. Like maybe if you read the series, you'll recognize things,
Mhm.
but that's about it. It's not, it might not necessarily feel like, oh yeah, I'm very much like this character. It's just like, yeah, okay, there's these characters who are main characters and they want to be together. So sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
That'll give
I
you
think if someone is really invested in the series, I can imagine just seeing all the characters in this game really help appeal to them. Like, but I guess from a person who hasn't read the book except for the title and the
I mean,
author.
I don't think it'll
Um,
appeal that much.
oh, really?
You
Oh,
know,
okay. Never
it's
mind.
not. It's not again that thematic disconnect. I think is still kind of like it would just be cool that there is a game in this world, but it's not like you're really playing that world.
No.
Is what my guess would be for someone who knows the series.
Yeah.
So
not okay.
Yes. Okay. It's gone down. You loved this game when we're talking about it, and now it's just okay.
Yeah, it's going. My rating is going down in real time. When we started talking, I was like, oh man, it's an 8, and I told Ben we should start recording right now. So if we rated it, the 8 wouldn't drop down too much, but now it's going down.
So yeah, I mean, still try it out. It doesn't
it
play
definitely
badly, but those were our first impressions of the game after first play. And so if you found this interesting, helpful, hope you'll share this video with friends, family, people you play board games with. Hope you'll consider subscribing to this channel and following us on Instagram at I Got Board Game. And until next time, we'll see you then. Bye.